busker may be described as a person who performs in public for some sort of consideration, usually money. The busking itself, in the great majority of cases, includes the performance of music, but can also include the performance of some sort of street theatre as it is known. Another name for this is community art. As far as the police are concerned, there is no such thing. The law does not recognise busking as. What is recognised by the law as being an offence, among other things, is wandering abroad and begging, or obstruction of the highway, which is the invariable consequence of a person standing on the pavement performing to the public gathered round. Obstruction can also be a public nuisance and therefore in itself is a criminal offence.
And I'm a busker, and I've been spending the last 7 years travelling around different countries in Europe, for example Germany, Switzerland, Italy, France, Holland, Sweden, Yugoslavia, etc., etc. And in every country that I've been to, I've always had a welcome, and most countries have legalised busking with legal times and legal places, and you don't get harassed. Whereas back in Dublin, especially here on Grafton Street, playing music or doing any kind of street theatre is an arrestable offence. And last St. Patrick's Day I was arrested with two friends of mine here on Grafton Street for playing traditional Irish music. And we were put into a police van and brought to Pearse Street Station, where we were held for 2.5 hours and before they'd served a charge on us, and then up in court the following morning. But fortunately we got a judge who was lenient and dismissed the case. But that is what every busker here on Grafton Street has to deal with. We're constantly being harassed, constantly moved on. So the buskers have formed a guild, and we wish to get recognition of street performing as a valid art form and also as a valid means of livelihood. And that's basically what the Buskers Guild is about.
The police in recent times have seemed to crack down on buskers and busking activity in general for the reasons I've just stated. They rely on several offences. The first one would be simple obstruction, also committing a public nuisance. But they have also had recourse of late to an old English statute, the Vagrancy Ireland Act, which was passed in 1847. This, among other things, defines wandering abroad begging as an offence, and you will usually find that the offence alleged against the busker is that that person did on a particular date and time in a particular place wander abroad and beg. The reason for the Vagrancy Ireland Act can be gleaned from the year in which it was enacted, that is 1847. It mirrors, in the majority of its provisions, an earlier English Act, the Vagrancy Act of 1824. This English Act was passed in the wake of the Napoleonic Wars, when hundreds of thousands of demobilised soldiers and disaffected citizenry were travelling from city to city and town to town in England, and were seen by the British Parliament as possibly constituting a source of unrest. People were defined in the English 1824 Act as notorious rogues and vagabonds, and this phraseology is echoed in the statute which applies to Ireland. The 1847 Act is, as I say, a measure passed to prevent wandering abroad begging, and was passed in the wake of the Great Famine, which beset Ireland between 1844 and 1848. Thus we find that an act which was passed to hold in check the poor wandering Irish is now being used to prosecute offenders who are causing a nuisance or are wandering abroad and begging.
very ridiculous when you think about it. The Grafton Street's famous for its atmosphere and the crack that does be there. Joyce wrote about it, Noel Purcell wrote about it. And tourists expect it from Grafton Street. It's that kind of ambience. And here the buskers are getting driven off the streets. You'll often notice a large crowd in Grafton Street. And they'll be clapping, or they'll be shouting out, joining in the show, or laughing. It's an old Irish tradition as well, isn't it? You had Rafferty and Carolyn and the hedge schools and the Shanakees all travelling around. I don't know what they were bringing people. The same as we're bringing them, but we're not allowed to. And then there's my own 2 court cases. We're 2 separate charges, 2 different guards, and I got a case remanded, so both cases were up on the same day. And we were up for wandering abroad and begging, contrary to the 1847 Vagrancy Act, Ireland. And the guards tried very hard, well the first guard in particular, tried very hard to say they actually had been begging. And luckily I had a good barrister who pointed out that everything I did was in a humorous way. The guard admitted that people appeared to be enjoying themselves. How do you appear to be enjoying yourself? It's like Molly McAnally Burke says in the Hot Press. You'd think you'd have something better to do than chase a puny little man up Duke Street. Untitled Chapter. Now for this show you must all use your imagination.
Or as the performer says, that he has given a service to the public, he has performed music or performed a piece of street theatre, and therefore has in effect contributed to the enjoyment of life by ordinary persons passing to and fro. Well, it could be stated that all public performances, whether they be international football matches or boxing matches or any other event which attracts the public, will also attract in its wake criminals.
Now this princess is the kindest woman in all India. She's money away to the poor people, and every day she goes down to the river. And she washes her clothes and hangs them on the washing line. Brilliant! Vanessa Redgrave, eat your heart out. So you might think this is all very nice, but the train goes by. Choo 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 choo. And the princess thinks to herself, my, isn't that the most handsome train driver you've seen in your life? And she's right, isn't she? Yes, she is. You see, she's right, isn't she? Well, you might think that's, but in India at that time there was one.
You don't need it was about 7 years ago. The Dandelion Market in Dublin closed. It was the only main outlet for crafts and for anybody who wants to start their own business. As a result of that, 1,000 or 100 people lost their outlet. About 20 of us then started selling illegally on the streets in Dublin. We got arrested, okay, but we were only fined £5 a time. We lobbied at the same time for a right to sell because we knew the acts were changing soon from the old Street Trading Act to the Casual Trading Act. We succeeded in getting pitches, which are marked out in little squares all over Dublin. But the result also was that nobody else could get a pitch. And that means any up-and-coming people who want to start any sort of business have no outlet. It also means that anybody caught illegally trading now faces fines up to £5,000. And as in the case of the pram women over Moore Street, they get fined £200 or £300, which they can't pay, obviously, and they go to jail. So we are in actually the position where people are being jailed for street trading in Dublin.
I'm a street trader, and all we want to do is earn an honest living. Most of us has all unemployed husbands and young children. It's not our fault that we're not legal. The government won't give us licences.
Well, the way it is, when the police take us into Store Street, they keep us there for so many hours. They let us go then on our own bail. They take us to court the next morning, we could get fined anything up to £200, £300. So when the fines come out, the amount up, the water man comes out, he asks us for the money. We haven't got it, so we have to go to Mountjoy for it. Well, I couldn't afford to pay fines, and I went to Mountjoy. I spent, well, a couple of weeks in one time, a week another time, and a few days maybe another time for the amount of money I owed. It costs us, say, £580 a week for to keep a prisoner at Mountjoy, and we could be only there maybe for £30 or £40. So do you not think that's ridiculous?
If the public were against us, they wouldn't make a petition, sign a petition saying that they wanted us on the street selling.
And if the public is willing to buy off of us, why can't we just sell on the street?
Who really objects to you?
Businessmen's Association, Mr. Coffey.
Why?
Businessmen. But he says we're illegal street traders and we shouldn't be on the street and we're littered in the street, which is a lie.
What about when we do earn our money and our children is going back to school after the summer holidays and the money is getting spent in Arnott and all the other big stores in the street on our kids' uniforms and everything else that goes with it?
Hi, I'm Tom McGinty. I'm sometimes known as the Dice Man. What I do is I make myself into a human statue and perform as a kind of very slow moving picture that moves up and down the streets. Sometimes in quite abstract tribal things, sometimes more record like today as a chef. I've also kind of done things like kind of Dracula, you know, and Mary Magdalene. I find it an amazing way of kind of performing and hitting the public, and you're not actually kind of demanding that they look at you or demanding that they give you money, but you're there to entertain if they want to look at you, and they can choose to pay you or they can choose to leave. You know, so I find it a very honest way of performing. I perform sometimes purely artistically and rely for a living from people giving me money in the streets, but I often am commissioned by firms to create visuals that promote their names or promote their products. And the way things are going, in terms of the kind of the demands of the street performers, people often tell us, oh, it's really the money you're after, you know, the right to collect. But in fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's more the right to be able to perform, because I don't have to rely on that money. I can be paid by traders, you know, by shops, by firms, by businesses.
charges brought against Buskers are of a summary nature and are prosecuted in the district court. The reaction of the courts to the prosecution of people alleged to be Buskers has been mixed. Some district justices will take the view that no harm, essential harm, is being done to the public and may dismiss the case or impose a nominal fine. Again, it will depend on the basis of the charge, whether it is brought pursuant to the Vagrancy Ireland Act or whether it is simply the Gardaí alleging an obstruction of the highway. Under the Vagrancy Ireland Act, the district justice is obliged to sentence the offender, if convicted, to a minimum term of 1 month's imprisonment, a very harsh penalty which may perhaps be described as crushing a butterfly on a wheel.
The main problems I find working in the street, what annoys you most is the anomalies of the situation, you know, where people like charity collectors obstruct the street quite badly with putting things like fire brigades and animals and even sponsored climbs up the street. And also during the last European elections, you had politicians out there giving out sweets, lollipops and mints and things, and causing mayhem, you know. And some of the shops on that street themselves put bikini models in the window. But nothing is ever done about that, whereas the buskers are constantly hit with problems of obstruction. I think there seems to be kind of one law for one group of people and not for another.
It's pretty crazy when you think of objections from traders and at the same time they're hiring you. Several shops in Grafton Street major shops have employed various buskers to perform in their windows, and they've actually even run street entertainers festivals themselves. You know? So I don't know what they're on about.
The Buskers Guild has been formed to demand and to put the case for the right to perform in public and the right to allow people to give us money for the entertainment we're providing. We'd like to see those rights enshrined in the law. Basically, that's what it's about.